You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
It's your boy, Evan Closky.
Back again, and we appreciate it. We are the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every day. Be sure to check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays. You can also find us on X and Instagram at Locked On Rays, and email us anytime, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Evan, a little birdie told me that you were in Port Charlotte for the launch of 2024.
I was that
training.
birdie.
Yeah. You were the birdie on the Bird app, now the
Yeah.
X app. Whatever. Yeah, there we go. What's the haps? What new insights did you learn from spending the day there and hearing from coaches and players and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, it's day one, pitchers and catchers, not even a full squad workout. It was nice to see Curtis Mead, Junior Caminero, Carson Williams were there kind of on the backfield. Was a little bit surprised to see Jeffrey Springs doing a long toss. That was fun to get video of that and see him. But ultimately it's pretty much a status quo. It was just nice to be in Port Charlotte again, obviously in the wake of the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. Last year, spring training was split between Disney and Tropicana Field. And, they haven't had an uninterrupted, normal, we'll say, spring training in Port Charlotte since 2019. So it's been 5 years since they've been like, we're going to go to Port Charlotte, we're going to stay here, home base is going to be here, and we're not going to be shortened or moving fast or whatever it might be. So it was nice to see the stadium looking great. And just for anybody out there wondering, it's not like they didn't add any new features, right? $17 million were put into it thanks to insurance. And the way that insurance works is you better put the stuff back exactly how it was before. So, there were some minor touch-ups and stuff. But for the most part, if you showed up there, the line was like, if you showed up the day before Hurricane Ian hit, you probably are going to see the same thing, just newer, right? Like the backfields are, completely brand new. The field looks great. The batter's eye, all these things, the paintings. So everything is pretty much the same, just new. Like it's just completely refurbished. So that was cool. It was nice to see the organization be stoked about being there and the benefits of knowing what's going to happen this spring training and not being worried. I asked Erik Neander about that. They said they didn't even do a contingency plan. They were pretty confident that they were going to be just fine getting back to Port Charlotte. Outside of that, there was a lot to break down. I mean, Erik Neander and Kevin Cash spoke for 30 minutes about an array of topics. I asked about the Tyler Glasnow deal, and ultimately Neander said they could have taken Tyler's contract into the season, that was certainly on the table. They were not searching for some high A ball type guy, that if they were going to trade him, they needed to be impact type of players, stuff that we assumed. And, the interest was substantial in Tyler. And the realistic expectation was that they were going to be priced out after the season. So logically, it just made sense to do a deal like that. They firmly believe that Pepio and DeLuca can slide into the roles of what Glasnow and Margot did, what their roles were. Maybe not talking about production, but can fulfill those roles. And having said that, he says there isn't sort of this Rolodex of hard and true facts and stats that are going to back up that, like, Ryan Pepio can replicate what Tyler Glasnow does at his tippy top point. But he believes that they've really, with this rotation, accrued a lot of guys that have a high potential. And they feel like they don't necessarily know how everything's going to turn out entering the season. And that's a fun part for them. I think Kevin Cash said it was, there's a freshness was the word he used to the spring training, because it's going to be competition based. Randy, Siri, Josh Lowe, Brandon Lau, we know that those guys are going to be in their spots and what their roles are. Isaac Paredes, of course, but, Caballero has to prove that he's going to be the shortstop to fill in for Wander, and then Taylor Walls, as Walls is probably going to be a little bit past April on his recovery. So, he's going to try to compete to have, that job longer term, assuming that Wander's not going to be back. And of course, there's no update really on that. They have some outfield positions that are going to be up for grabs, but a lot of the starting pitching is ultimately, hey, let's see what sticks. Let's see what's out there. And their relievers and their bullpen, which I don't think enough people are talking about, is maybe one of the strongest units that they've had in quite some time. So there's a lot of continuity issues from fans that they're worried about. But actually, in the one space that usually the Rays love to flip over names, outside of Big Spot Bob, a lot of those guys, you replaced him with Maton, and you have a lot of very stout 2 to 3 inning guys who can help bridge the gap on maybe some of these pitchers, where if Pepio is going 5 and you want to kind of put him on the Blake Snell train of we're going to put him 2 times to the lineup and get him out of there, well, they can hand the ball off to an Armstrong. They can hand the ball off to maybe Wagzupek. I got to still learn the pronunciation of that. They can they have plenty of options in their disposal to really tinker throughout the pitching staff. And I think it's going to be one of those where the team has a couple of starters they lean on day in, day out. And for the most part, it's going to be plug and play, get guys to, 4 or 5 innings, hand it off to the bullpen, and really have a 6 to 7 inning guy to really bridge some of these gaps to their studs on the back end, whether that's Jason Adam, Pete Fairbanks, Colin Poche, who's coming off a great year. So they and I'm missing a handful of names, but I think that they're optimistic of what they have entering the year. They're obviously more bullish than what the public and what betting lines are going to say, which is nothing new. And I think for fans, we've if you're a Rays fan, we've been here before where we watch a team where we're kind of like, what the hell is this going to look like? And then we look up at the end of the season and they got 90 plus wins.
Couple points there before you interject, Ulises.
Yeah.
Couple burning takes that I got out of what you said, Evan. I think Brian Pepio pitches more innings than Tyler Glasnow this season, just based on Glasnow's injury history. Phil Maton puts up a better season than Bob Stevenson does in LA. And the Rays exceed the projections that it seems like every year, whether you look at Pacoda, Fangraphs, whatever, it's always 86, 88 wins. And the Rays always,
I would say 84 even.
Yeah. And the Rays always blow that in the water for the most part. And I think they'll I don't know, blow that in the water, but I think 90 plus wins is a good barometer.
And the thing about those projections that fans have to realize is that the Rays turn over a lot of their roster throughout the year. They are the Tinker Kings.
Yeah.
They tinker.
I don't think it takes into account all the unrivaled depth that they have and all the ways they work it out to maximize each player's skill level. So
I'll tell you what has unrivaled depth. That's game time, folks. That's game time. Because no matter what you want to do, if it's comedy, theater, basketball, baseball, whatever it is, Game Time has it. And in fact, they're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets because they have deals right up to the start of the event. Even an hour after it starts, it's the place to find last-minute seats. So today, you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets using Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Perhaps you go to Port Charlotte and maybe you can see Evan Closky and you can, play Name That War with him. Do that. So download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Evan, was there one quote that caught you by surprise? I know it's the first day, so like a lot of like beige, gray colored quotes, but was there one even by a player, Cash or Neander, that you were like, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect to hear that.
I don't think so. I think the one that kind of stuck out to me was more so that what I think Erik Neander said something along the lines of what we lack in his, and I'm this isn't an exact quote, but essentially, what we lack in proven production, we make up in potential, and they believe that with the depth that they have, while they don't have the answers right now, they don't necessarily know who is going to slate where, and again, the quote, like, who's going to pop. But they think that when you throw it all into the hopper and you bring the competition and you put everybody playing each other, that, like, just like lotto balls, bing, 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 some balls are going to pop out, and then you're going to be like, let's look at the name, Zach Littell. And, you just kind of like figure it out that there's going to be 3 or 4 guys who we didn't necessarily have the highest hope for right now, who are going to be big producers for this team throughout the season. But there are so many of those guys who we're just kind of on the fence with that we don't really know who that's going to be. So, is Curtis Mead going to be able to establish some sort of role? Is he going to be able to produce at the next level? Is Jonathan Aranda going to be able to finally produce at the major league level? And this year he's going to be given the runway of playing time. So there, there's a lot of things where, I asked him about Aranda and they're like, it is very hard to believe that a guy that has that sort of AAA production is not going to have Major League Baseball production. And Neander even admitted to me, saying, we have watched a handful of our guys who we were not as patient on flourish elsewhere, Nate Lowe being one of them. So I think they've learned from that lesson, and this is going to be a very big opportunity for Aranda, just like Josh Lowe, who was given a little bit more of a chance the year previously before kind of popping off in 2023. But, the Josh Lowe story is a very good one in remembering that, hey, let's go back and revisit this. If you have the kind of success that we think you're having down here, it's going to translate at some point. We got to be patient. So patience is going to be the key.
I'm glad you mentioned the competition thing, because Kevin, like we have started the competition series, previewing spring training, and we have done exactly those 2 names. Can Jonathan Aranda, create a role at first base? If Harold is moved, be a little bit of a platoon, and then can Curtis Mead be that guy in the platoon in second base with Brendan Lau? So I'm glad you said that, because, Kevin, we've got a few more, but that's what we've been talking about. It's just the competition for each role. Yeah, some guys are mainstays, but there is plenty of competition there.
We've got a couple of figureheads for sure, but I think that there's a lot of young up-and-coming players that just need the opportunity and need the reps and kind of see who sticks and who you're going to roll with in the future. Now, Evan, it's not necessarily as sexy of an offseason like the Dodgers or the Yankees, but how important and how necessary was it for the Rays to lock up both Neander and Cash within the last couple weeks to long-term contract extensions that will pit them in the organization through basically the 2020s, my understanding is, and through the opening of the new ballpark, having the 2 top dogs, if you will, cemented in the organization going forward.
Yeah, it's super important. It's funny what the Rays lack in continuity in their roster they seemingly make up for with their brain trust. And that's not to say guys like Peter Bendix and Andrew Friedman and Chaim Bloom haven't gone elsewhere in the process. But it seems like Stu is willing to pay top dollar for the brains of the operations to stay and to keep that the same.
Yeah.
Keep those systems in place. And Erik and Kevin know the song and dance with each other. You know, it's hard to find those partnerships where each other, A, likes each other, but B, they know how to work together and get through some of the day-to-day stuff that is, you know, especially in baseball, so prevalent, you know, with lineups and decision-making and all the meetings you have to go through. So extremely important. And I know that the playoff history has not been great recently. And to be fair, the playoff history in the American League East, which we all think is a gauntlet, has not been great. I think, what is it, like 12 straight losses, playoff losses in the American League East? Not just
They've actually
the
scored
Rays.
negative runs, my understanding is. I don't know how that's happened, but it's crazy.
So you know, I understand the playoff success hasn't been there, but you do have to remember they still seemingly do more with less, at least financially speaking. And it's truly impressive that the Rays have made the playoffs 5 straight seasons with one World Series trip in those 5 years. Unfortunately, the other 4 were quick exits.
First of all, I will not stand for James Click erasure in this podcast. So James Click, there's your mention. But number 2, with this whole extension from the top down, I was wondering, I'll give you two numbers. Craig Counsell, $8 million. Terry Francona, $4.5 million last year. Is Kevin Cash in the middle of that?
I mean, Kevin Cash should be making top dollar. I don't see, like, I mean, really, he doesn't have the World Series titles. I get it, or title.
Craig Counsell doesn't have it either.
Correct. And I mean, the thing about Craig Counsell, though, is that wasn't more of a production-based thing. It was like, hey, we're trying to steal you away, so we got to overpay for you. And that's just, there was a market out there for him. So that's just one of those
Jim
things.
Harbaugh, I guess. You know?
Yeah, you know, so it's not like you can't really use it as a 1-for-1, right?
Okay.
All I'm saying is that if Kevin Cash was put on the open market to all the teams who are looking for managers, he would make top dollar. He would be right there. So the fact is, I would assume he's getting paid. You know, he's the longest tenured manager in the league, and he's probably getting paid close to number 1 in the league, 2-time manager of the year. You know, a couple of AL East titles, especially given the circumstances, 5 straight playoff appearances. There's a lot that works into his resume. And he's the longest tenured Rays manager now. So, and he's a Tampa guy. So it's one of those things where the marriage, it works. I don't think Kevin's looking, you know, Joe Madden, I think, was looking for something that was a little bit bigger, better, and maybe more resources. I think Kevin's comfortable, not content, comfortable with the living situation, the working situation. And I think him and Erik are both very competitive people, more than they let on. And I am certain it eats at them that they haven't figured out the playoff thing. And that will drive them. It does. Some people out there will scoff at that, but I can tell you that more than what you hear on press conferences and whatever, they are diligently trying to find those answers. It's easier said than done, and nobody wants it more than those guys who invest their entire life's work to winning a World Series.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something really important, not just the brain trust and the acumen of Neander and Cash for what they do, but the marriage between them and how they jive and get along together, because that is something that you don't see in every front office dugout, C-suite dugout. Just being able to have that respect and strong working relationship and having that connection, I think, is really important. So that's a good thing going forward for sure. We have more to discuss with Evan, but first we have to tell you this: get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. So just visit FanDuel.com/LOCKEDON locked on and shoot your shot today. FanDuel.com/locked on. I'll repeat it one more time. FanDuel.com/locked on. FanDuel, they are an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, Evan, all right, Ulises to Evan. I'm going to let you lead this third segment here, which I see a bullet point of choose one. So, Ulises, take it away with that as Evan awkwardly adjusts his camera there.
Yeah, it's something screwing behind me. We're good, though.
That's a very boomer move.
Yeah.
You're okay, though.
I have a very, I don't want to say boomer. What's the, give me another generation below that. Like my setup
Gen
here is
Xer?
Gen X?
Oh,
Gen
even
X?
like worse or better than
worse.
boomer?
Worse.
Oh, worse. What's
Yeah.
worse than the boomer? The Greatest Generation, right?
I guess so.
I mean,
yeah.
we didn't have the technology back then, so that's what we're working with.
Evan actually
That's
still
what-
has a flip phone, if you didn't know that.
He did.
does.
I wish I had my BlackBerry. I wish that was.
He's
still
got a
thing.
beeper. We actually.
That's how we get him on the.
If
That's how we get him on the show.
If
Yeah.
Kim Possible has a beeper, I'm gonna have a beeper.
Yeah.
So for this one, I just kind of wanted to hone in on what you think is the one, not this or not just the one. So it's going to be difficult to choose one. I understand, but give me one main storyline that, in your opinion, is the most interesting during this Rays spring training 2024. What is the one thing that you're like, this storyline is the most interesting thing?
Starting pitching. It's the biggest enigma because I do think that they've kind of brought in a lot of guys. I think they have a lot of options. But, once you get past even like Littell right now is firmly, the discussion is Littell is going to be inserted into the rotation. He's going to be a part of it. Does he replicate what he did last year?
Right.
We also know that injuries happen to this rotation all the time. So really learning these arms, I think, is so pivotal because last year at this time, we were talking about the Rays having the best starting rotation in baseball.
Yeah.
Didn't have one inning together. McClanahan ends up getting Tommy John surgery. Jeffrey Springs gets Tommy John surgery. Drew Rasmussen gets the one below Tommy John surgery in hopes that his arm will come back. And I think his target date's probably September. Zach Eflin was amazing. Can he repeat that? Like, is he going to repeat that sort of like borderline Cy Youngish type season? And, you're filling it in with some, Pepio, Littell, Taj Bradley. Is he going to make the next step? Shane Baz, he's going to be progressed slowly into the Rays rotation. So Shane Baz, they don't want him to pitch and then shut him down.
Right.
They want to make him real slow in the progression back to being on this team so that when he ramps up, they have him for the long run. That if they make a playoff run, he'll be there, right? You don't want to have to shut him down at 100 innings, phantom DL him. That's me saying that. Nobody in the Rays organization said that, but you got to give him a break. But that's So there's just a lot of people that, Uwasawa's coming in. Is he going to start in Durham? Is he going to earn a spot with the Rays? There's just a lot of options. They're going to try to stretch out Davinsky. They're going to try to see if Tyler Alexander's a thing. So that's the interesting part to me, because last year the Rays on paper, it felt like an established team, one that was going to go for it, really. And this year is a mini reset button. I think it's a little bit overrated how much of a reset button it is, but certainly with the starting rotation, I get it. Like, the lineup, I don't think changes that much outside of Wander, which, are factors out of everyone's control. That wasn't like they're trying to make it work on the fly. You got to wait for Carson Williams. But, I would say that. I would say starting pitching is number one. And then my second place vote goes to Junior Caminero and where he fits into everything and how you're going to make him work, of whether you're going to start him in AAA or will you begin him with the big league ball club and try to find a spot for him.
Going back to the starting pitching, I'm looking at 9 names right now: Eflin, Savali, Littell,
Savali, that's a name I forgot.
That's good. Taj, Uwasawa, Boss, Lopez, and Davinsky. So when I look at these 9, let's say that the first 4 are solid: Eflin, Savali, Littell, and Pepio. To you, that 5th spot, what is it? What's the most likely name to come out of there? Taj Bradley or Uwasawa?
Bradley.
Really?
I think to me, Bradley's underlying numbers and like his metrics and everything that the quote unquote nerds look at are elite. Like, he's got elite stuff. Ultimately, I think there was just a little bit of a learning curve. He really struggled going deeper into games. Like that 5th inning, he would stub his toe. He would have blow-up innings. He would leave his cutter up. So there was natural thing. He got brought up way earlier than what they wanted to do. They had to bring him up at a necessity. But now that you got the experience from him, now that you've burned the year on him, to me at this point, he's going to be a part of the rotation. And Taj Bradley, I think, has the ceiling to be one of the most improved players in Major League Baseball this season. That at the end of the year, we can look back and be like, the Rays did it again. They found a freaking stud in Taj Bradley. This guy's amazing. He changes the whole, the look of the starting rotation, him and Eflin. So I imagine Taj Bradley taking a big step forward this year. I would be a little disappointed if it was as rocky as it was last year. And again, I don't blame Taj for last year. I think those were just the rookie lumps that naturally you have to go through.
No mention of Brendan McKay. How dare you?
The reports on Brendan McKay have been really good. Now, what happens with that? I mean, we've heard that before, right?
Yeah, we've heard a lot. Oh, yeah, it looks good.
You just
arm look live.
Can I throw? I'm gonna throw a Kevin question at you, Evan. Does Brendan McKay pitch a single pitch for the Rays in 2024?
I can't predict injuries. As of right now, what I know today, I would say yes. I think he will.
Yeah.
All right.
Guys get hurt.
All right.
As long as he does not get hurt, he's going to be involved with the Rays.
Plans.
He's going to get a shot. So I think they're very excited about the possibility of him. But again, I don't think that necessarily McKay is a part of their
number one plan.
We gotta, McKay's gonna have a big year. We're leaning on him. I think it's the same thing that I say with Rasmussen this season. If you get Drew for anything this year,
you take it.
Yeah.
Nice. But I do expect Jeffrey Springs to be involved in the back half of the year and to ramp up and to be part of a playoff push that you would hope would happen. Drew, let's see where it goes. Let's hope for the best, right? But I'm not as like in my head. He's just kind of tucked away there as a maybe, whereas Jeffrey is more of like a, I am fully expecting Springs to be a part of this team come end of July, beginning of August.
Okay,
I'm looking forward to seeing what Uwasawa can do, and hopefully making a dent in the rotation. And something, Evan, you mentioned as we wrap up here with the whole Wander situation. I don't think that Neander and company get enough credit for thinking on the fly and doing the switcheroo trade in a short amount of time to get Caballero, remove Luke Rayleigh, and then bring on another outfielder with adding Palacios and trading Andrew Kittredge, and then a couple weeks later signing Phil Maton. Like I know it's not necessarily going to get tons and tons of headlines, but I think those were really shrewd maneuvers, having to work with a couple of other organizations out there.
That's the word, shrewd. That's the word, man. Shrewd.
I agree. 100% agree with you. And I think that leans back into the potential. One thing that I complained about last year, everyone knows, if you can run it back, thought that the lineup was littered with too many empty outs, right? Yeah. Like you can't rely on the home run ball as much as they did last year. I think there was a little bit of a progression to the mean from what they had the year prior, where they just were not hitting them out. And that was a weird sort of deal. So they recorrected the other way. But there were too many times where they couldn't generate an offense because it was like, get on base. And they would constantly leave 2 men on, no out. And it's like, well, of course you're going to do that because this guy strikes out 23% of the time. This guy strikes out 30% of the time. So what do you think's going to happen? He's probably going to strike out or not make good contact with guys like Palacios, guys like DeLuca, Caballero. These are guys who tend to put the ball in play. And I'm very curious if we start to see a little bit of a let's run some, let's have a ripple effect and let's watch the cascade of a big inning here.
Hopefully.
Of having guys who are a little bit, Luke Rayleigh provides home run potential for you. You don't have that, but now you're providing more contact, which could get wheels in motion and allow you to utilize your speed and really start to get this offense motoring a bit, which I think for the past 2 years, they've been a little bit stagnant. The offense was fantastic last year, don't get me wrong, but it was boom or bust. It was a lot of home run or nothing. And I think they went I'm all for that with some players, but I think they went too far on it. I think they went a little bit overboard and kind of saturated their lineup with people who are either going to, hit it out or kind of strike out. Yeah. And I just don't think that's a winning formula come the playoffs because you're really banking on if you got it, you don't, and you're facing the best pitching. So more often than not, you're probably going to struggle than bomb it for a complete month.
Yeah. And Caballero is going to add some gamesmanship and really make the pitchers work and frustrate.
Great defense, and that's the thing. They have great defense, so that should be, they can lean on that.
All right, Evan, where can people find your wonderful work?
At Closky, WTSP on the Twitter /X. You can find me on Instagram at Closky. You can head to 10tampabay.com where not only we talk about the Rays starting up right now. By the way, shout out to Dave Wills and Fred McGriff for being the new members of the Rays Hall of Fame. That will happen this season. But we'll also talk about the Lightning making their playoff push. USF basketball.
Basketball. It's been 14 years in the making, but we're
go, baby. Let's go. This is what I live for.
So, and right now at this current spot of recording, they're putting a whooping on Tulsa. So they've been really fun to follow this year. Everyone go to the Yingling Center on Sunday. If you can get a ticket because it's sold out against FAU, that's a monster game. But yeah, hit me up on Twitter /X. Send me your thoughts, questions. I'll respond 99% of the time as long as you're not a jerk.
That is the first time in human history that anyone has ever said FAU, South Florida basketball. What was the term you used? Huge game?
Big game?
It's a marquee game in college basketball this weekend. It's on the ESPN.
It's on
Noon.
the ESPN.
It's
That's
yeah.
nice.
I mean, you're gonna have Amir's boys pumped up, ready to go. FAU also is a team that went to the Final Four last year. I mean,
Cool.
come on, this is a fantastic game, and we don't get this with USF very often. It's Amir Abdul Rahim is certainly in the running for National Coach of the Year because I mean, you guys can talk about it, just how bad USF basketball has been.
Oh, yeah.
They have not been to the tournament, I think, since 2011, 2012.
That guy almost made the team. They were so bad one year.
Yeah. And they just looked at him and were like, oh, he's tall. Let's bring him.
Yeah, he's
actually, you know why he didn't make it? Because he showed up to tryouts with a boot on. He actually had fractured his ankle, and he still went to the tryouts. That's why.
Yeah.
They're like, look, dude, like we can't do this. I mean,
we can do a lot of things. We can't do that.
You're a gamer. You're a grinder. We get it, but we can't do this.
Locked on USF Bulls,
yeah,
baby.
We need that. We need a locked on USF Bulls. Yeah. Here's the thing. Enjoy Amir while it lasts because he's gonzo after this season. He's getting he's getting scooped up. If USF makes the tournament, he's getting scooped up by somebody.
Finishing the episode on an optimistic note. I love it. This is great.
There we go. All right. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.